Hello everyone, I hope that you are doing well. Today is St. George's Day, and in the spirit of that day, I want to share with you a little story I came across yesterday actually. It's about King Arthur and a man named St. Efflam, and it deals with their encounter with a dragon. Now, St. Efflam, he was born in Ireland. He was the son of a king, the King of Ireland, but decided to leave Ireland when he was told he had to marry the daughter of a prince, because he believed he had been called to a holy life in service of God. And so he set sail from Ireland with a bunch of his retainers, and they made their way to Brittany. And in due course, he became one of the regional saints in Brittany. So much so that in the 16th century, a monk named Albert Legrand wrote the life of St. Efflam. However, the story that I'm going to share with you, while it's been retained in its 16th century form, goes really far back in terms of Arthurian legend. We can see that some of its elements must have come from around the late 1000s, so you're looking at maybe 1090, maybe after the turn of the century, so the 1100s. And we know this because some of the scenes depicted in Breton churches, in the carvings and the stones, refer to this story. Or maybe they do. It's not totally clear. But it seems like there's a depiction of Arthur fighting a dragon. And then there's another depiction of St. Efflam giving help to Arthur, and nearby is a slain serpent of some kind. So with that said, let me tell you the story of Arthur, Efflam, and the dragon. King Arthur had been sojourning at the court of Hull, Duke of Armorica, and having freed his own land of dragons and other monsters, was engaged in hunting down the great beasts with which Armorica abounded. But the monster which infested the Lieu de Grève was no ordinary dragon. Indeed, he was the most cunning saurian in Europe, and was wont to retire backward into the great cavern in which he lived, so that when traced to it, those who tracked him would believe that he had just quitted it. In this manner he succeeded in deceiving Arthur and his knights, who for days lingered in the vicinity of his cave in the hope of encountering him. One day, as they stood on the seashore waiting for the dragon, a sail hove in sight, and soon a large coracle made of wickerwork covered the skins appeared. The vessel grounded, and its occupants leapt ashore, headed by a young man of princely mien, who advanced towards Arthur and saluted him courteously. "Fair sir," he said, "to what shore have I come? I am Efflam, the king's son of Ireland. The winds have driven us out of our course, and full long have we laboured in the sea." Now when Arthur heard the young man's name, he embraced him heartily. "Welcome, cousin," he said. "You are in the land of Brittany. I am Arthur of Britain, and I rejoice at this meeting, since it may chance from it that I can serve you." Then Efflam told Arthur the reason of his voyaging. He had been wed to the Princess Enora, daughter of a petty king of Britain, but on his wedding night a strong impulse had come upon him to leave all and make his penitence within some lonely wood, where he could be at peace from the world. Rising from beside his sleeping wife, he stole away, and, rousing several trusty servitors, he set sail from his native shores. Soon his frail craft was caught in a tempest, and after many days driven ashore, as had been seen. Arthur marvelled at the impulse which had prompted Efflam to seek retirement, and was about to express his surprise when the youth startled him by telling him that as his vessel had approached the shore, he and his men had caught sight of the dragon entering his cave. At these words Arthur armed himself without delay with his sword Excalibur and his lance Ron, and followed by his knights and by Efflam, drew near the cavern. As he came before the entrance, the dragon issued forth, roaring in so terrible a manner that all but the king were daunted and drew back. The creature's appearance was fearsome in the extreme. He had one red eye in the centre of his forehead. His shoulders were covered with green scales like plates of mail. His long, powerful tail was black and twisted, and his vast mouth was furnished with tusks like those of a wild boar. Grim and great was the combat. For 3 days did it rage, man and beast struggling through the long hours for the mastery which neither seemed able to obtain. At the end of that time, the dragon retired for a space into his lair, and Arthur, worn out and well nigh broken by the long-drawn strife, threw himself down beside Efflam in a state of exhaustion. "A draught of water, fair cousin," he cried in a choking voice. "I perish with thirst." But no water was to be found in that place, save that of the salt sea which lapped the sands. Efflam, however, was possessed of a faith that could overcome all difficulties. Kneeling, he engaged in an earnest prayer, and, arising, struck the hard rock 3 times with his rod. "Our blessed Lord will send us water," he exclaimed, and no sooner had he spoken than from the stone a fountain of pure crystal water gushed and bubbled. With a cry of ecstasy, Arthur placed his lips to the stream and quaffed the much-needed refreshment. His vigour restored, he was about to return to the dragon's cavern to renew the combat when he was restrained by Efflam. "Cousin," he said, "you have tried what can be done by force. Now let us see what can be achieved by prayer." Arthur, marvelling and humbled, sat near the young man as he prayed. All night he was busied in devotions, and at sunrise he arose and walked boldly to the mouth of the cavern. "Thou spawn of Satan," he cried, "in the name of God, I charge thee to come forth." A noise of 1,000 serpents hissing in unison followed this challenge, and from out of his lair trailed the great length of the dragon, howling and vomiting fire and blood. Mounting to the summit of a neighbouring rock, he vented a final bellow and then cast himself into the sea. The blue water was disturbed as by a maelstrom. Then all was peace again. So perished the dragon of Lieu de Grève, and so was proved the superiority of prayer over human strength and valour. Saint Efflam and his men settled on the spot as hermits and were miraculously fed by angels. Efflam's wife, Enora, was born to him by angels in that place, only to die when she had joined him. And when they came to tell Efflam that his new-found lady was no more, and was lying cold in the cell he had provided for her, their news fell on deaf ears, for he too had passed away. He is buried in Pleston Church, and his effigy, standing triumphant above an open-mouthed dragon, graces one of its many niches. I hope, whoever you are, wherever you are, that you have had a wonderful St. George's Day. God bless you all. Bye for now.